Sydney is Australia's largest city, chief port and cultural centre. Sydney is Australia's largest city.
Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3. Although coral injury was able to slow down the growth of the jubilant starfish, their ability to regenerate shows the resilience of this reef predator as a highly prolific species. The origins of a pretty smile have long been sought in the fearsome jaws of life. The origins of a pretty smile have long been sought in the fearsome jaws of living sharks, which have been considered living fossils reflecting the ancestral condition for vertebrate tooth development and inference of its evolution. The primary function of teeth is to tear and chew food, and in some animals, particularly carnivores, for fighting and or defense. The roots of the teeth are covered by gums. The training of an actor is an intensive process that requires curiosity, courage, and commitment. You will learn how to prepare for rehearsal, how to rehearse, and how to use independent and productive processes that inform you to do the best work possible for both stage and screen. Globalization has affected what we eat in ways we are only beginning to understand. More and more food production is no longer related to our biological needs and is indirectly in conflict with them. The relationship between diet and our fertility, cancer, heart diseases, and mental illness is becoming clear. Yet, much of our food is nutritionally bankrupt. Traditional divisions of domestic work are understood or persist because of the strong association of the home with humanity and with masculinity. To challenge that, home is arguably equivalent to challenge what it is to beat a woman or a man.
There are mental health services available to older adults who need them.
There are mental health services available to older adults who need them.
As you age, you might start losing friends and loved ones.
As you age, you might start losing your friends and loved ones.
The king refused to sign the death warrant for his old friend.
The king refused to sign the death warrant for his old friends.
Seniors are at a higher risk of falling and breaking a bone.
Seniors are at higher risks of falling and breaking the bones.
Keeping your mind active can prevent memory problems.
Keeping your mind active can prevent memory problems.
Exercise and yoga are known to improve balance.
Exercise and yoga are keen to improve balance.
Advertisements can occur in unusual places, even in the sea or in the sky.
Exercise can occur even in sea and the sky.
Robots are common in industry.
Robots are common in industry.
Some surveys show only subtle differences in happiness between people.
Some survey shows only subtle difference between happiness in people.
Generally, consumers trust friends more than commercial information such as advertisements.
Generally, customers trust friends than advertisements.
An understanding of persuasive technique should help you recognize their use.
An understanding of persuasiveness can help to understand their recognized use.
Most people dislike advertisements, but appear to be influenced by them anyway.
Most people dislike advertisements, but appear to be consumed anyway. The given image is a process diagram which gives information about the cycle of the buying and selling. Firstly, it shows that awareness and the engagement. Furthermore, it conveys information about evaluation and purchase. Here, the first step is awareness, followed by engagement and then evaluation. After that, purchase is done. After that, post purchase is also done, and the final step is advocacy. To conclude, this image gives information about awareness, engagement, evaluation, and purchase. The given image is bar diagram which gives information about cars sold, average price per car. The x-axis talks about year from 2010 to 2015, whereas the y-axis talks about cars sold, average price per car. From the picture we can see that in year 2013 the car sold is the highest, which is around more than 300 car. Similarly, cars sold in 2011 is the lowest, which is less than 200 per average price per car sale. Moreover, it shows that in 2015 the car sold the given image is a process diagram which gives information about process of puru, roti and ripe tea. The first step is pan frying the tea. Furthermore, the tea is taken to aging by storage and then vintage roti is formed. Moreover, on the left hand side we can see different process like rolling, and it is drying under the sun. After that, loose raw tea is collected, then again it is fermentation by mold, and finally the loose ripe tea form and compensation to form the ripe tea. To conclude, it gives information about tea formation.
The age-old debate of whether leaders are born or made has never been properly settled. However, research suggests that leaders are most likely made. The fact is that leadership requires a complex set of skills that can only be acquired through education, mentorship, and experience. While you do not need a stellar academic record to make a good leader, you must make a continuous effort to acquire as much knowledge as possible. Therefore, take relevant online courses from time to time, attend industry events and workshops, read books, reach out to successful leaders for mentorship, and so on. Becoming a better version of yourself will inspire others to become the best they can be.
Leaders are born or made was the main topic of the lecture. At the beginning, the speaker said research suggests leader the most likely made by the help of education and also by the reading books. He further discussed that taking online course and reading books and also by attending seminar, people can acquire the skills to become a leader. Moreover, the speaker presented that best version of yourself is important to become the leader. In conclusion, this lecture illustrates leaders are born, not made. It's not true.
The first inhabitants in Australia were the ancestors of the present indigenous people. Whether these first migrations involved one or several successive waves and distinct peoples is still subject to academic debate, as is its timing. The minimum widely accepted time frame places presence of humans in Australia at 40,000 to 43,000 years before present, while the upper range supported by others is 60,000 to 70,000 years BP. In any event, this migration was achieved during the closing stages of the Pleistocene epoch, when sea levels were typically much lower than they are today. Repeated episodes of extended glaciation resulted in decreases of sea levels by some 100,150 meters. The continental coastline therefore extended much further out into the Timor Sea than it does today, and Australia and New Guinea formed a single landmass known as Sahul, connected by an extensive land bridge across the Arafura Sea, Gulf of Carpentaria and Torres Strait. The ancestral Australian Aboriginal peoples were thus long established and continued to develop diversity and settle through much of the continent. As the sea levels again rose at the terminus of the most recent glacial period some 10,000 years ago, the Australian continent once more became a separated landmass. However, the newly formed 150 km wide Torres Strait with its chain of islands still provided the means for cultural contact and trade between New Guinea and the northern Cape York Peninsula. During the 1970s and 1980s, around 120,000 Southern Asian refugees migrated to Australia. During that 20 years, Australia first began to adopt a policy of what Minister of Immigration A.I. Grass termed multiculturalism. In 2004–5, Australia accepted 123,000 new settlers, 19% a 40% increase over the past 10 years. The largest number of immigrants, 40,000 in 200,405, moved to Sydney. The majority of immigrants came from Asia, led by China and India.
Australia inhabitant was the main topic of the lecture. At the beginning, the speaker said widely accepted time frame and 60,000 to 7,000 years ago. He also said that lower sea level by 150 meter and Australia and New Guinea. Moreover, he presented that Aboriginal people and glacial period around 10,000 years ago. Towards the end, the speaker said that means for cultural contact and largest number of immigrant moved to Sydney, and the immigrant was coming from Asia, especially India and China.
What appliance do people use to keep their food cool and prevent it from spoiling?
Fridge, freeze, refrigerator.
What type of food is an apple?
Fruit, sweet fruit.
When you get lost in city, what do you need?
Map, tour guide, map, GPS, location.
What word describes moving a program or other material from a website to your computer?
Imaging, copying, transferring, imaging.
What word is used to describe frozen water?
Ice, ice.
When ice is at room temperature, what does it become?
Water, water, water. Liquid, liquid.
We are living in an age when there are great opportunities in social work, public life, and administration. Society requires children of disciplined minds and restrained manners. Whatever line of work they undertake, they should bring to it an honest, disciplined mind. They will then succeed and have the joy of your work. The kind of education that is imparted must not only be broad but should also be deep. We are lacking in depth. We may become learned and skilled, but if we do not have some kind of purpose in our lives themselves become blind, blundering, and bitter. For a truly cultured mind, there is a single-mindedness, a dedication to a single purpose. For the uncultured mind, the whole life is scattered in many directions.
The comics I show you with lots of people chatting around in a room is a form of description. We use different kinds of methods to describe a situation. Sometimes we have to use visual description, particularly when we do not witness the scenario. I was born during the Second World War and my hometown is X. For example, when I asked my mother about the war, I always ask her, you have mentioned this, or that when you talked to me when asked her about the shelter, I asked her what the shelter looks like and when did you go to the shelter. From her response I could get more visual evidence as I can to write my book.
may not know much, if anything, about Jean-Jacques Rousseau, but you have probably heard the well-known quote, "Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains." In his early work, Rousseau argued that mankind was happiest and at its best in a state of nature, that is, before the creation of society and civilization. He saw society as artificial and corrupt, and that good people were corrupted by it. The Social Contract is perhaps the most enduring and well-known of his books, covering pretty well every aspect of man in society. However, in this book, his attitude to the condition of man in a state of nature changes. In such conditions, man is brutish and competitive by nature, and there is no law or morality. Therefore, because it is easier to survive by joining forces with others, people form societies to better fight anything that might endanger their situation. Rousseau's political philosophy has had a profound influence on later thinkers, even though, or perhaps especially because, it is open to many interpretations. But political philosophy is not everybody's cup of tea. In his own time, Rousseau was a bestseller, with novels such as The New Eloise and especially Émile, though even the latter is not free of his constant desire to improve society. It illustrates his ideas about the best form of education, which involves educating a child's emotions before their reason. This too had a profound influence on educational theorists.
Cigarette smoking is on the decline in the United States for a number of reasons, including laws banning smoking in many workplaces and in public spaces and at least partial restrictions in other areas. However, the moist tobacco market is on the rise and has increased by nearly 7% from 2011 to 2014, according to a Euromonitor International report. As a result, many companies are developing products and accessories to serve this expanding market, and they are realizing that some of the prevailing myths about tobacco users don't hold up. With this changing landscape of tobacco use, comes an opportunity to dispel several of these myths.
Population screening for ovarian cancer can only be supported if a test is shown to reduce deaths in a future randomized controlled trial. I remain hopeful that a new effective screening test will be found eventually, but it will take many years to conduct a large trial of the test. Realistically, this means we have to reluctantly accept that population screening for ovarian cancer is more than a decade away.
Research reveals that religious and spiritual involvement can preserve cognitive function as we age. The authors observe that today, spirituality is often experienced outside the context of an organized religion and may be part of every religion or separate to it. Spiritual fitness is a new dimension in AD prevention, interweaving basic, psychological and spiritual well-being.
Now, as you know already, there will be a midterm exam next week. The exam will be an open book, open note, and open internet resource exam. But you can't use a classmate or me during the exam. Many of the questions on this exam don't have definitive answers. I wish to assess your critical thinking ability and your ability to combine ideas. A poorly organized answer will not get the same grades as a well-organized answer. Here are some good ways to study for the exam. First of all, it would be better for you to organize and review your lecture notes. That means you many need to compile notes and lab test results if you have not done that already. I strongly suggest that you write trial outlines before the exam. I think it will make you feel more comfortable. Just stop by my office.
Evidence shows that a simple view of nature can radically improve health outcomes. So why couldn't we design a hospital where every patient had a window with a view? Simple, site-specific designs can make a hospital that heals. Designing it is one thing, getting it built, we learned, is quite another. We worked with Bruce Nizet, a brilliant engineer, and he thought about construction differently than I had been taught in school. When we had to excavate this enormous hilltop, and a bulldozer was expensive and hard to get to site, Bruce suggested doing it by hand, using a method in Rwanda called ubudehe, which means community works for the community. Hundreds of people came with shovels and hoes. And we excavated that hill in half the time and half the cost of that bulldozer. Instead of importing furniture, Bruce started a guild, and he brought in master carpenters to train others on how to make furniture by hand. And on this job site, 15 years after the Rwandan genocide, Bruce insisted that we bring on labor from all backgrounds and that half of them be women. Bruce was using the process of building to heal, not just for those who were sick, but for the entire community as a whole. We call this the locally fabricated way of building, or LoFab, and it has 4 pillars: hire locally, source regionally, train where you can, and most importantly, think about every design decision as an opportunity to invest in the dignity of the places and where you serve.
Colorectal cancer is the number 2 cancer killer in the US. Unfortunately, few people realize that there are a number of simple screening tests that can make colorectal cancer one of the most preventable cancers. The development of more than 75 to 90% of colorectal cancer can be avoided through early detection and removal of these precancerous polyps. The digestive health specialists from the American College of Gastroenterology (ACG) urge you to get screened for colorectal cancer. Colonoscopy is considered the best test for colorectal cancer screening and prevention because it allows physicians to look directly at the entire colon and identify suspicious growths. It is the only test that can detect and remove precancerous polyps from the colon during the same examination. Colorectal cancer is most common after age 50, but it can strike at younger ages. The chance of colon cancer increases with age. It's suggested that screenings begin at age 50 for men and women at average risk for colorectal cancer. African Americans should begin colorectal cancer screening as early as age 45. African Americans are diagnosed with colorectal cancer at a younger average age than whites, and African Americans with colorectal cancer have a decreased survival rate compared with whites.
Like mammals, birds claim their own territories. A bird's territory may be small or large. Some birds claim only their nest and the area right around it, while others claim far larger territories that include their feeding areas. Gulls, penguins, and other waterfowl nest in huge colonies, but even in the biggest colonies, each male and his mate have small territories of their own immediately around their nests. Male birds defend their territory chiefly against other males of the same species. In some cases, a warning call or threatening pose may be all the defense needed, but in other cases, intruders may refuse to leave peacefully.
Despite their best efforts, most women have had the experience of frantically digging into the bottom of a large purse or handbag for an essential item such as eyeglasses, cell phone, keys, or passport. A separate case to corral these important possessions makes sense, especially if it combines fashion with function. Being able to protect, carry, and access these items in a reliable, convenient, safe way makes women's lives easier and better. According to the creator of Travel Eyes, a unique, stylish accessory that holds not only eyeglasses, but other essentials including phones and keys. The Travel Eyes products are double-sided and designed to zip around the strap or handle of any purse, handbag, or backpack.
Initially, when Lewis turned to writing children's books, his publisher and some of his friends tried to dissuade him. They thought it would hurt his reputation as a writer of serious works. Tolkien in particular criticized Lewis' first Narnia book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He thought that there were too many elements that clashed. A Father Christmas and an evil witch talking to animals and children. Thankfully, Lewis didn't listen to any of them. Following the publication of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in 1950, Lewis quickly wrote 6 more Narnia books, publishing the final one, The Last Battle, in 1956. Although they were not well received at first by critics and reviewers, the books gained in popularity through word of mouth. The Narnia books have since sold more than 100 million copies and are among the
Many older adults experience feelings of loneliness and isolation as they age, but pets can provide the companionship and love seniors desire. A new survey conducted by Home Instead, Inc., franchisor of the Home Instead Senior Care Network, found regular interaction with animals can help to reduce feelings of isolation and loneliness in older adults. The most frequently cited benefits of pet ownership are company, comfort, unconditional love, entertainment and
Beauty is only skin deep. And the beauty of shiny white teeth is even less deep. Because a new study shows that fluoride forms a thinner protective shield than experts thought it did. The results appear in the Surface Science journal Langmuir. American consumers spend more than $50 billion a year fighting cavities. When we realized that fluoride could help, we put it in our drinking water, our toothpaste and our mouthwash. But how does fluoride work its magic? Many figured that fluoride chemically reacts with the main mineral in enamel to form a thick, decay-resistant veneer. But the latest research kicks that idea in the teeth. Scientists in Germany used X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy to get a detailed image of the surface of a treated tooth. And they found that the protective covering is actually only 6 nanometers thick. That's about a 15,000th as thick as a sheet of paper. And a layer that skimpy would likely be worn away by ordinary chewing. How fluoride keeps the tooth fairy away is a mystery that researchers are still working to unravel. In the meantime, we may not know how it works, but we know that it works. So keep brushing.
Amory Lovins is an American consultant, experimental physicist, and he has been active at the nexus of energy, resources, economy, environment, development, and security in more than 50 countries for over 40 years. He pays attention on energy saving and how to use energy in a more efficient and sustainable way. He built a house with plenty of energy-saving concepts. He's an unusual character with a wide range of knowledge and a genius, but he is not a scientist. He has a consulting company and lives in a house that is built on a mountain. For 30 years, he used a lot of ways to save energy and solved problems with technologies that already existed and demonstrated them. Some people think he is so crazy. A female writer wrote a book about him, which is called Mr. Green.
Primitive elevators of various designs had been used for centuries.